Welcome to a quick overview tour of the Yamaha AW4416, a fully integrated professional audio workstation. This product mixes power, flexibility, and convenience while fueling the creative music-making process. So let's get started. Yamaha's reputation for crafting high-quality acoustic and digital music products is world-renowned. So it's no surprise that the AW4416 dedicates significant digital processing power to achieve superb sound reproduction. The AW4416's digital processors deliver crystal clear sound quality using 24-bit audio converters, a 48K sampling resolution, a dynamic range of up to 109 dB, and no compression. Plus, all internal processing in the AW4416 is handled with stunning 32-bit accuracy. All of this adds up to a difference you can clearly hear. The Yamaha AW4416 offers plenty of power for recording. Imagine recording 16 tracks at once, all with full resolution. Imagine flying in 2 full ADATs in real time, in one pass. Well, imagine no more. It's here, now, at the touch of a button. This is perfect for songwriters and bands who want to record quickly and easily. 16 tracks at once keeps your creative options open by not forcing a submix of tracks before they are finished. The AW4416 is also a powerhouse digital mixer with 44 inputs available during mixdown. These include 24 input channels, 8 on board plus 16 via 2 optional plug-in cards, 16 recorded channels playing back from disc, plus 4 effects returns channels in 2 stereo pairs. The mixer section also features 2 built-in stereo multi-effects processors, and each channel provides 4 bands of fully sweepable parametric EQ, plus a dynamics processor with compressor, expander, gate, hard and soft compander, and more on the ins and outs. Did we mention this is on every channel? Power on the AW4416 also refers to storage with a 10 GB internal hard drive. That's over 74 minutes of music. And with a 6.4 GB maximum per song, there's plenty of room to stretch out and explore new musical ideas. Okay, so it's got power. How flexible is it? The heart of the AW4416 is a full-featured 8-bus digital mixing console that's on par with the industry-respected Yamaha O2R digital recording console. It provides fully automated mixing with 60mm motorized faders that allow you to see and control your mix. No need to wade through pages of menus to get to software faders. And dedicated controls mean instant access. Flexibility also means versatility, and the AW4416 feels at home in the studio, on stage, or on the road, in all types of musical settings, from acoustic to electronic. It offers comprehensive MIDI implementation, with MIDI in, out, and through, plus MIDI timecode and MIDI machine control support. All of this means seamless integration with and incredible expansion opportunities for MIDI-based studios. Speaking of expansion, the AW4416 offers 2 plug-in card slots, allowing a variety of analog input and output configurations, plus direct multi-channel support for such popular digital I/O formats as ADAT, Tascam, and AES EBU. And dedicated word clock in and out jacks mean rock-solid synchronization in video post-production applications. Flexibility also comes through innovation, and here the AW4416 shines with a unique real-time sample trigger capability. 2 banks of 8 pads allow fast access to 16 sound effects or musical phrases at the touch of a button. This feature is perfect for dance remixes, video sweetening, or radio. Source material can be recorded from tracks on disc, WAV files, or material imported directly from CD. Up to 90 seconds of memory accommodate both mono and stereo samples. You can even record your performance on the pads. The performance, the sounds, and the mixer settings are stored as part of each song. The Yamaha AW4416's thoughtful design and engineering result in a variety of convenient, cool features that make it a pleasure to use. For instance, looking at the front panel, you'll immediately notice the large 320x240 backlit LCD, the same one found on the Yamaha O2R. Right next to that is a large fluorescent display that provides meter bridge, timing, and other function status at a glance. Two displays mean immediate feedback for critical operations. The AW4416 also provides 4 dedicated controls for fast access to frequently used song functions, instant setup for 16-track recording, mastering functions, and CD playback. This keeps the operation transparent while you make music. Think of it as non-musicus interruptus. The AW4416 also sports an optional internal CDRW drive. Built-in means no external boxes, cable issues, or hassles. Just slide in a CD and go. In addition to pressing audio CDs, you can back up important data, import sound files, and listen to recorded CDs. Around back, you'll find SCSI 2 connectivity for more backup storage and data import options. The mouse input speeds navigation and data input. The AW4416 is not just good-looking, it's smart too. Libraries store channel, EQ, dynamics, and digital effects program settings. Again, this speeds operation and allows you to personalize the machine to your style. We could go on, but let's wrap up this brief overview tour and let you check it out for yourself. The Yamaha AW4416 is the perfect mix of power, flexibility, and convenience, all with 24-bit 48K sonic clarity. The AW4416 puts recording, sample triggers, editing, mixing, and mastering in a fully integrated, easy-to-use, great-sounding professional audio workstation from Yamaha. Congratulations! Your purchase of the Yamaha AW4416 puts you in control with a powerful, flexible, professional audio workstation. This integrated tool will help you produce great music whenever and wherever the creative spark strikes. As you spend time with the AW4416, you'll find its portability, usability, and high-end performance will enhance your music-making process. And whether you're recording a whole band at once, punching in that perfect solo, or crafting your mix with precise digital automation, the AW4416 will feel like it provides an extra pair of hands to help you handle the details and let you focus on your music. Then, after you've wrapped up the final mix, you can even master and press CDs, all in one dynamic, crystal clear, fully integrated tool. So let's check it out. This video will get you up to speed using and enjoying the AW4416 fast. It will provide just the information you need to get started, then steer you to the printed materials that came with your unit for more detail. There are 7 color-coded parts to this video: introduction, this section, before you begin, recording, editing, mixing, getting your music on disc, and other cool functions. Watch it all the way through once to get the big picture. Then go back and review a specific function using the color coding to find what you want quickly and easily. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Our first step in setting up the AW4416 is to install the hard disk. This is quick and easy to do. Make sure the power is off and the power cable is disconnected from the AC outlet. Remove the 2 screws that hold the hard disk adapter to the drive slot. Place the hard disk on the adapter, align the screw holes, and fasten the 4 screws. Make sure they are secure to avoid any vibration of the drive. Plug in both ends of the flat cable. Now, align the rails inside the slot and push it in until it clicks into place. Fasten the drive bracket using the screws you removed earlier. Again, make sure they are tightened appropriately. That's it. If you're going to install an optional CDRW, now would be a good time to do it, so wait to power up until it's installed too. When you do turn the power on, the AW4416 will format the new drive automatically. Follow these steps to install a Yamaha-approved internal SCSI CDRW drive. Keep in mind that the AW4416 allows a maximum burn speed of 6x. Using a faster drive will not increase the speed. The factory SCSI ID default for Yamaha CDRW drives is ID3. Make sure the power is off and disconnect the power cable from the AC outlet. Turn the AW4416 upside down on a large, clean work surface. Use the packing carton from the shipping box to support it and prevent the controls on the top panel from being damaged. Remove the CDRW drive cover and the bottom panel. Turn the CDRW drive over and gently insert it until the drive enters the opening in the bottom of the AW4416. Connect the red and white cable to the internal connector. Then to the CDRW drive. Plug in the flat ribbon cable to the CDRW drive. Line up the screw holes and fasten the drive using the 4 included screws. Reattach the drive cover and the bottom panel. Then remove the inner cover from the CDRW drive cover. You're done. Time to power up and format the new internal drive. Turn the power on, and when the display asks Format OK, press Enter to begin formatting the drive. Wait until the format is complete, then press CD Play, then the Shift and F2 keys to open the disc tray. This is a good time to restore the demo song So Fine to your hard drive. So get the CD that came with your unit. Place the CD in the tray, then press Shift F1 to close the disc tray. Here's how to restore the demo song to the AW4416's internal drive. Press File, F2, and move the cursor here to select the ID number 3, the optional internal CDRW drive we just installed. Then press Enter. After a moment, the directory of material on the CD will appear here. Move the cursor here and use the data dial to highlight the song you want, then press Enter to mark it for restoring. Move the cursor to Execute and press Enter. Select OK to confirm the restore operation and press Enter to begin. Restoring this song from CD will take about 10 minutes, so be patient. Loading it into memory from disk takes only about 15 seconds. If you would like to hear the demo song now, press Song, F1, then move the cursor to the song So Fine by moving the data dial. Press the down arrow to move the cursor to load and press Enter. Move the cursor to Yes and press Enter to save the current song and begin loading So Fine. Once it finishes loading, press Play to begin playback. Well, let's keep moving and hook up some gear to the AW4416. Inputs 1 and 2 offer XLR connectors for microphones, as well as quarter-inch phono jacks for mic or line-level devices. And input 8 provides a high Z jack for connecting an electric bass, guitar, or other instrument with a high output impedance. Refer to the operations guide under Connections and Setup for more information. Here are a few quick tips that will make it even easier to work with the AW4416. Consider getting a serial mouse. It really speeds operations in the display. There is a mouse connected to this AW4416, but we'll use the cursor keys and leave the mouse cursor in the corner of the display and point out when we use it in an example. You'll find more information on using the cursor and the mouse in the operations guide under Basic Operation of the AW4416. Be sure to use the contrast control to make the LCD readable for you. Also, you will want to set the internal clock because all files are time-stamped when saved to disk. To do this, press Utility, then F4. Move the cursor to a field and change it using the data dial. Repeat for the remaining fields, then move the cursor to Set and hit Enter. We're almost there, but first, a few important things you need to know before starting to make music on the AW4416. Check out the front panel. It's laid out in logical groups of functions. Up on top, the Work Navigate section provides access to song functions, such as saving, loading, and setup, plus the shutdown function. More on this later. You'll find the Quick Record function is a real time saver for recording 16 tracks at once. Mastering groups together the mastering functions. CD Play lets you listen to recorded CDs or sample libraries on disk. The Unit area includes Setup, with patching and monitoring functions that allow you to configure the AW4416 for your needs. File allows access to backup, restore, and disk utilities. Utility has several pages of utility functions. And MIDI lets you get to the MIDI setup, sync, and program change assign functions. Here, in Mixer, you'll find a really handy single screen of all parameters for a single channel under View. Pan, routing, and pair settings are located here. EQ, attenuation, and fader group settings here. And the Dynamics processor, delay, and phase settings are here. These fader mode and mixing layer buttons work together to display input, send, and return levels on the 16 motorized faders here. Above the faders are the channel select and on-off keys, plus the solo button. Along the top panel is the analog input-output section with gain, phones, and monitor out controls, plus peak LED indicators. Next is display. Around the 320 by 240 backlit LCD are quick access controls for pan and parametric EQ for the currently selected channel. Below these are the shift and function keys, plus the LCD contrast control. Over here is the level meter and counter section with a disk access LED, the absolute relative time toggle switch, peak hold LED, track Q, record track select, and all safe buttons. This is the recorder section with the track access and edit buttons, as well as undo and redo. The automation section has buttons for Automix and scene. Use these store, plus, minus, and recall buttons for scene memories. Getting around the AW4416 is easy using the cursor and jog shuttle controls here, the locate controls here, and with familiar transport controls here. The last area on the front panel is the sampling pad section. This innovative feature opens up some cool creative options. More on this later. For now, let's go back and take a closer look at the fader mode and mixing layer sections. These buttons work together to determine what the faders in the display are showing you. For example, press Home, F1. The LCD now shows meters for the input-output levels of each channel. And the faders will let you adjust the input levels of the channels you have selected using the mixing layer. In this case, channels 1 through 16, or 17 through 24, plus 2 effects returns here. Or press here to monitor the recorded tracks from disk. It's like having a 40-channel console, but only looking at 16 faders at a time. Much of the power and flexibility of the AW4416 comes from its internal patching, routing, and processing capabilities. Let's look at the signal flow within the AW4416 to understand how the patching and routing works. Inputs can come from a variety of sources, including jacks 1 through 8, the optional I/O cards, the digital stereo in connector, 2 effects returns, and the sampling pads. All of these are routable to the mixer section of the AW4416 using the built-in digital patch bay. To see the patch bay on the AW4416, press Setup and select Patch In. These are the 24 inputs plus the 2 effects returns. Notice that moving the data dial allows us to set the source for each input. In this case, Analog Direct Input, or AD1, is routed to Mixer Channel 1. The mixer section handles signals from these inputs, as well as 16 tracks, buses 1 through 8, the stereo bus, aux buses 1 through 8, the solo bus, and a stereo mastering track to and from the recorder, plus 2 tracks from the optional CDRW drive. Signals from the mixer are then routed to the Omni out jacks, optional I/O cards, stereo out jacks, digital stereo out jack, monitor out jacks, and phone jack via the output patch bay. Again, you can see this by pressing Setup and choosing Patch Out. You can even store and recall a variety of setups using the memory library. More on this feature later. For more information on signal flow, check out the operation guide. The recorder section of the AW4416 utilizes 3 types of tracks: audio tracks, virtual tracks, and the stereo track. Audio tracks are for the actual recording and playback. The AW4416 allows a maximum of 16 tracks to be recorded at once. The number of tracks that can be recorded and played back simultaneously is covered in detail in the operation guide under Track and Virtual Track operations. Virtual tracks allow up to 8 different takes for each audio track. Each audio track plays back one virtual track at any time. The default setup uses virtual track number 1. This function lets you record up to 8 takes and later choose which one you want to play back in the final mix. You can even edit pieces of various virtual tracks together for a killer composite track. The shaded areas in this graphic show the virtual track currently selected for recording and playback for each audio track. The stereo track is separate from the audio tracks and is used mainly to create a master 2-track mix. Think of it as a DAT mix that's built in and stored with each song. The AW4416 provides one stereo track for each song. We'll learn how to record and play back the stereo track later, or refer to the operation guide under Track and Virtual Track operations. All of the data that's needed to reproduce a single piece of music you create on the AW4416 is saved on the hard disk as a song. This includes audio data for all virtual tracks, track screen settings including locate point settings, tempo map settings, scene memories, Automix memory, patch, EQ, dynamics and channel libraries, sampling pad function data and settings, song name and comment, counter display method, song protect setting, timecode top setting, region fade setting, and undo data. This lets you pick up where you left off, whether it's the next day or down the road. Also, when you power up the AW4416, the most recently saved song will be automatically loaded into memory. Now, let's look at how you get the information you need to make music. The first thing you'll notice is the large backlit LCD. Depending on the mode or function you're working with, it will display a variety of useful information. For example, here is the name of the currently selected screen. This is either the page name or the currently selected channel. Here is the current song name and location, In the display, one item will be selected with the cursor. Use the cursor keys or a mouse to move its location and the Enter key to make a selection. You'll also find buttons, knobs, faders, and numerical boxes in the display. Again, use the cursor keys, a mouse, the data dial, and Enter to select and change values. At the bottom of the display, you'll find tabs. These identify the function you can access using the F key below the screen. This little arrow means there are more tabbed items than will fit in the display. You can either press the Current Items button to cycle through them, or press Shift to see the other choices. Then press the appropriate F key to access the function. You'll see these actions throughout the video, or check the operation guide under Basic Operation of the AW4416 for more information. As with any digital product, it's a good practice to frequently save your work to disk. Just press Song, F1, then use the cursor keys to highlight Save. Press Enter, then select OK to save. One last very important thing to keep in mind is that if you turn the power off of the AW4416 without saving the current song, all changes since you last saved will be lost. This includes any new recorded material, editing, Automix moves, etc. So please get into the habit of using shutdown every time you want to turn the power off. It's really important and really easy. Just press Song. Function key F5. Press Enter. Then use the cursor keys to highlight OK and press Enter. When the Now Safe to Turn Off message appears, turn off the power switch on the back panel. You may already have a fresh song loaded up. If not, press Song, then F1. Use the cursor keys or the mouse to highlight New Song and press Enter. Move to Yes and press Enter to confirm loading a new song. Now choose a sampling frequency and bit rate for the recording. Keep in mind that if you want to record an audio CD of the song, you must select 44.1 kHz. The Mixer Data Import screen allows you to import various settings from a different song. For now, choose either OK or Cancel. This screen allows you to name your song. We'll use the default settings for now, so click OK here and for the comments screen. If you want more details, check the operation guide under Creating a New Song. Now let's set the input levels. For this example, we'll use a rhythm machine connected to channels 1 and 2. At this point, let's recall the default mixer settings for the AW4416. These are always available by recalling Scene 00. Press Scene, then F1. Use the data dial to select Scene 00. Use the cursor keys to select Recall and press Enter. Select OK to confirm. This scene resets the AW4416 to its default state, a fresh starting point. Now, back to setting the input levels. Start the rhythm machine and adjust the gain controls so the peak indicators light briefly at the loudest sounds, then pull back just a touch. This sets the level hitting the input stage of the mixer and is the last time your audio will be analog. Press Home and F1 to see the input levels for channels 1 through 24 in the display. Raise the stereo fader to 0. Press Mixing Layer 1 through 16. Make sure the on keys are lit for channels 1 and 2 and raise the faders to 0 dB. Watch the level meters in the screen and adjust the input levels. If the meters clip, lower the gain controls. With digital recording, you really want to avoid any clipping. This process sets the levels of the signals through the patch bay to the mixer. By the way, the default settings have patched input jacks 1 and 2 to input channels 1 and 2 on the mixer. For convenience, you may want to pair up these input jacks. To do this, press and hold Select Key 1 and press Select Key 2. Then move the cursor to Input 1 to 2 and press Enter. When linked, any mixing parameter changes you make to EQ, DSP, and so on will be done for both channels. The exceptions are attenuation and pan, which are set separately for each channel. It's important to understand how input signals are routed for recording and monitor signals are routed during playback. It all starts at the input jack, and as we've already seen, in the default state, signals are routed to the corresponding channels on the mixer, input 1 to channel 1, 2 to 2, and so on. Next, we need to assign the mixer channels to buses, and then on to tracks in the recorder. The AW4416 allows you complete flexibility here. Any input or channel can be routed to any record track. For this example, we'll route channel 1 to track 1 via bus 1, and so on. To do this, press Pan, then F1. Use the cursor keys to select bus 1 and press Enter. Since channel 2 is linked with 1, the same settings apply. Finish routing like this. Bus 1 and 2 are on, and the stereo bus is off. Now, we'll use Pan to send channel 1 to bus 1. Typically, panning hard left will route to the odd-numbered buses, 1, 3, 5, and so on. Hard right will route to the even-numbered buses, 2, 4, 6, 8. So move the cursor to the pan knob of input channel 1 and pan it hard left. This means channel 1 will only be recorded on track 1. Set channel 2 to hard right to record it to track 2. By the way, this process allows you to easily route mixer channels to any track. We'll try this in the overdub example later in this video. The next step is to arm the tracks or set them to record ready mode. To do this, press Record Track Select keys 1 and 2. Take a look at the level meters and lower the faders if the red segment at 0 dB lights at all. Another cool setting in the default state is that the input monitor mode of each track is set to auto. Now this means that the level meters for tracks in record ready mode will show the level of the input signal while the recorder is stopped, and the level of the track playback signal while playing back. Now we'll assign the signal of monitor channels 1 and 2 to the stereo bus and listen via the monitor out or the phones. Remember, these are the recorded tracks on disc, not the live inputs. To do this, press Pan, F3, then the mixing layer monitor key, so you're looking at the monitor channels, not the input channels. Pair channels 1 and 2 just like we did for the input channels. Press and hold Select 1 and 2, then choose Input 1 to 2 and press Enter. Make sure that the stereo bus buttons are on and the bus 1 through 8 buttons are off. This means the signals will be sent to the stereo bus rather than an individual bus. Pan monitor channel 1 hard left and channel 2 hard right. Ah yes, time to make some music. Press RTZ to return to 0, the top of the tune. Then press and hold Record and press Play. Start making music. When you're finished, press Stop. To listen to the track, press RTZ, then Play. When you are satisfied with the performance, press Stop, then press Record Track Select keys 1 and 2 to defeat the Record Ready mode for these tracks, or press All Safe to turn them all off at once. In this section, we'll follow the same steps and record a bass part to go along with the drums we just recorded. This will give us a chance to learn about other routing and monitoring options. Let's connect an instrument to input jack 8. This input offers both a balanced in as well as a high Z jack for high impedance instruments, such as an electric guitar or bass. Now set the input level as we did earlier. Play the instrument and adjust the gain control so it lights at the loudest sound, then back it off a bit. Press Home, then F1 to see the levels in the display. Press the Mixing Layer 1 through 16 key to see and adjust the channel level on the fader. Make sure channel 8 is on and raise the fader to 0 dB. You may want to turn the other channels off for easier viewing. Play the instrument and watch the levels. If it clips, lower the gain control. Next, we'll assign the signal to a bus, routing it to a track in the recorder. Let's use the View function to make our changes. Press View, then F1. This screen shows the status of all mix parameters for the selected channel. Press Select 8 to view and change the parameters for channel 8. Move the cursor to the Pan Route area. Turn Bus 3 Assign on. This routes the signal from input channel 8 to recorder track 3. Set the pan. Now press Record Track Select 3 to arm the track for recording. Make sure that On Key 8 is lit, then check and adjust the level to track 3 as necessary. The last step before overdubbing is to set the monitoring. We want to hear the drums recorded on tracks 1 and 2, plus the bass signal being recorded on track 3. To do this, press Pan, then F3. Turn Monitor Channel 3 stereo on and Bus Assign 1 through 8 off. Make sure channels 1 and 2 are set the same way. You may want to add EQ and use a dynamics processor to sweeten the sound. To learn about this, take a look at the operation guide under Using EQ and the Dynamics Processor. Well, time to overdub. Press RTZ to return to 0. Now press and hold Record and Play. To adjust the volume of the drums during playback, press the Mixing Layer Monitor key and adjust the faders. When you are finished recording, press Stop. To listen back, press RTZ, then Play, and raise the fader to 0 dB. When you're satisfied with the overdub, press Record Track Select 3 to disable the Record Ready mode. There are some other very cool functions that make recording even easier. These include undo, redo, markers, and auto punch. Say you don't like the last take. Just press undo and record another take. Pressing undo eliminates the last recording without worrying about leftover heads or tails on the track. Want to record repeatedly from the same location? Assign a marker to jump very quickly to that spot. And in just a moment, we'll learn about auto punch. At some point, you may want to submix or bounce some of your tracks to free up additional tracks on the recorder. For example, you may want to record your drums on separate tracks, then submix them to a stereo pair later. First, we'll need to route the source tracks we want to bounce to the destination track. For this example, let's bounce the stereo drums from tracks 1 and 2 to a single track such as number 8. Press Pan, F3, then move the cursor here and press Enter to route them to bus 8. By the way, bus 8 is sent to tracks 8 and 16. Let's arm track 8 for recording by pressing here. Repeat these steps for any other tracks you want to bounce. To watch the levels while recording the submix, press Home, F2, then Monitor. Press RTZ, then Record and Play to start recording. You could set up an Automix to automatically make any changes you want, or use the faders in real time. Press stop when you're finished, then RTZ and play to hear it back. If you're not satisfied, just press undo and do it again. Remember that this whole process happens in the digital domain, so the bounced tracks sound exactly like the source tracks with no loss of fidelity. There are two types of punch in and out, manual and auto. Manual lets you drop in and out of record using the transport keys or by using an optional foot switch. With the foot switch, the whole punch process can be controlled by your foot, making it really convenient to wear more than one hat as player and engineer. Auto punch allows the AW4416 to engineer while you concentrate on your playing. For example, you can specify a pre-roll time ahead of and a post-roll time after the punch-in point. And auto punch provides subframe or millisecond accuracy. You can also repeat the punch and even rehearse it before you record. Again, it's like having an extra pair of hands to handle the engineering for you. To set this function up, first make the monitor settings. Press track, then F1. Move the cursor to auto and press enter. Now set the auto punch in and out points. Start listening to the track play back. When you hear the point at which you'd like to punch in, hold down Set and press In. The In key will light, letting you know the in point has been set. Do the same thing for the out point, this time pressing Set and Out. Refer to the operation guide under Adjusting the location of a locate point to learn how to move the in and out points with millisecond accuracy. Now press Utility, then F3. Move the cursor to the pre-roll or post-roll fields and use the data dial to set the times before and after the punch points. The default is 5 seconds of pre and post punch. Well, we're ready to rehearse the auto punch. First, press the Record Track Select key for the track you want to record, in this case, track 3. Make sure the in and out keys are lit, then press Auto Punch. To rehearse, press play. Playback begins from the pre-roll point. Here you can see the record key start flashing and the monitor signal changes from the track playback to the input signal. However, it's not actually recording. Notice that the AW4416 stops at the post-roll point and auto-locates back to the pre-roll point. Press play to rehearse again, or to record, press and hold record and play. This time, it will actually record your performance. Remember, you've always got undo if you're not happy with the performance. To listen to the punch, press Auto Punch to make it go dark, then press play. Virtual tracks allow you to record up to 8 different versions of a track, and then go back and choose the best take, or even piece one together of all the best parts. All audio tracks use one virtual track at any given time. So, to record or playback a different virtual track, just press Track, then F2. This display shows which virtual track is currently in use for audio tracks 1 through 16. To select a different virtual track, just move the cursor to the one you want to use and press Enter. Now you can record and play back the newly selected virtual track as you would with any other audio track. For more information on virtual tracks, such as pairing, naming, and editing, read through Track and Virtual Track Operations in the Operation Guide. Quick Record quickly sets up and arms all 16 tracks for recording. This is perfect when you want to record a live band on separate tracks, or for flying tracks in from an external multi-track recorder in one pass. Pushing Quick Record resets all patch settings and mix parameters. So, if you have some mixer settings in the current memory, store them in a scene or song before pressing Quick Record. You'll see how to do this at the end of the mixing section later in this video. This display allows you to select which groups of inputs are sent to tracks 1 through 8 and 9 through 16 for recording. Your choices are the analog inputs 1 through 8, or inputs 1 through 8 of an I/O card in slot 1 or slot 2. Make your selections using the data dial. Then click Execute and OK to confirm. You can adjust the recording level using the faders of channels 1 through 16. When you're ready to record, press and hold Record and Play. When you finish recording, press Stop, then press All Safe to cancel Record Ready and the mute status for all tracks. For more details, read Using the Quick Record function in the operation guide. There are several functions that make it fast and easy to locate specific points in a song on the AW4416. For example, these keys will automatically locate you to the start and end points of a song. You can set a region to repeat using the AB repeat function. While listening to your tracks, press and hold Set, then press A to set the beginning point of the repeat. Do the same thing to set the end point using the B key. Now to repeat this region, just press Repeat, then Play. Press Repeat to turn this function off. You can still see the A and B points in the song by pressing Track, then F1. The AW4416 also allows you to set up to 99 markers per song. While listening back, just press Mark to set a marker. To locate to the marker immediately before the current location, press here, or press this key for the next marker after the current location. When you press Numeric Locate, the cursor will move to the upper part of the display. Now specify a locate point using the cursor keys to move the cursor to the digit you want to change, and the data dial or numeric keypad to enter the values. Press Enter to jump to your locate point. Remember, you can set the counter to measures and use this feature to jump to specific bars. Read the operation guide to learn about moving or deleting the AB points, adjusting the location of locate points, more about transport and locate operations, and to learn how to set the display to measures. Use the shuttle dial to play forward or backward at various speeds while a song is playing back. This helps you move quickly to a specific region. The further away from center you move the dial, the faster the movement. Turn it to the left to play backwards or to the right to play forwards. Use the nudge function to fine-tune your location. First, shuttle to the general area you want, then press Jog On. Now, rotate the inner data dial to the right to nudge forward or to the left to nudge back. As you do this, you'll hear a fixed region loop around the current location. This function is really helpful while finding a specific point in a song, especially for setting punch in and out points, auto locate points, and markers. The AW4416 offers a variety of options for editing recorded material. They are divided into 3 units: track, part, and region. We've already discussed tracks as one of the 16 complete segments in the recorder. Again, these are either audio tracks or virtual tracks. Track editing will affect all data on the currently selected track, and only tracks that contain data can be selected for editing. Another unit for editing is called a region. A region is a continuous piece of recorded material. Now, there may be times when you don't record a whole track from start to finish. Instead, you record a piece at a time. As an example, say you record the vocals in chorus 1, stop, fast forward, and then record the vocals in chorus 2. Each piece is considered a region for editing purposes. As with tracks, only portions with audio data can be selected as regions. Now, let's say you go back later and drop in some vocals at the end of the first verse. If you want to edit the vocals from the first verse through the first chorus as one chunk, you would use part editing. Unlike editing tracks or regions, even portions that don't contain audio data can be selected as a part. Another way to think of parts is that you specify the start and end points. With tracks and regions, The AW4416 automatically selects the chunk of material for editing. So in the big picture, a part could contain several regions, all within a single track. Check out the operation guide and the reference guide for more information about editing on the AW4416. Let's take a brief look at editing on the AW4416. First, press Edit, then F1. This is the track edit screen. Here you see bar graphs representing the audio data on each track, the track name, and whether or not they are paired for editing. If you want to work on adjacent tracks as a stereo pair, just select the heart icon, then press Enter to pair or unpair them. Now choose the type of editing unit you want, track, part, and region. Each type offers a slightly different menu of options. Let's select Track and press Enter. We now see the choices for track editing. Move the cursor to the desired command, such as Copy, and press Enter to see the parameters for that function. Work your way down the list and finally execute the edit by moving the cursor here, pressing Enter, then OK to confirm. If you change your mind before executing the edit, just move the cursor to the top level and press Enter. Remember to exit Track Edit to hear what you've done. One easy way to do this is press Track. This gives you a chance to hear the edit and, if necessary, go right back to the edit screen. Also, if you don't like the change, press Undo to return to the previous state before the edit and try it again. You can even press Redo and Undo to A/B the before and after versions. Again, for more in-depth information about editing on the AW4416, check out the operation guide and the reference guide. During mixing, you'll really come to appreciate the power of the AW4416. We'll briefly look at several mixing-related functions in this fast start video, but there's much more to the story. So check out the reference guide and the operation guide for details on all of these functions. If you would like to follow along, load the demo song So Fine. To do this, press Song, F1, then use the data dial to select So Fine. Move the cursor to load and press Enter. When the Will Save Current Song dialog box comes up, move the cursor to Yes or No and press Enter to begin loading. After the song loads, you will want to turn the Automix off so as not to fight the faders during playback. Simply press Automix, then move the cursor to the Automix Enabled button and press Enter. This will allow us to experiment and make changes without running into the Automix moves. Remember, though, to not save the changes we're about to make in your machine. Now, press Home, then Mixing Layer Monitor, and select Channel 4 to work with the bass track in the demo song. Let's start with the EQ and Dynamics Processing. Each channel provides 4 bands of parametric EQ and a dynamics processor. There are 2 ways to adjust EQ. First, press EQ, then F1 to select the EQ and attenuation screen. These are the 4 bands of EQ: high, high-mid, low-mid, and low. Each band offers controls for Q, the steepness of the band, with higher numbers producing a steeper curve; F, frequency, fully sweepable from 21 to 20.1 kHz; and G, gain, to boost or cut each band plus or minus 18 dB. To make changes, simply select a band and a parameter, then use the data dial. The EQ curve diagram immediately reflects your changes graphically. Second, these dedicated controls do the same thing. Just press a button to select a band and adjust the parameter you want using the knob. The changes show up in the top corner of the display. You'll find these will show up in most function screens on the AW4416. However, you can also have the AW4416 automatically switch to the EQ screen whenever you use these controls. To enable or disable this, press Utility, F2, then move the cursor to Auto EQ Display and press Enter. Now, if you are looking at levels during playback and adjust the EQ, the AW4416 switches to the EQ page to show you what you're doing. You can also set this for auto pan. Well, onto the Dynamics processor. Press Dynamics, then F2 to see the library of Dynamics processors. Here you'll find compressors, expanders, gates, plus hard and soft companders and more, all categorized by application. You can even build your own library of presets or starting points. To isolate a track or group of tracks from the mix, use the solo function. To set this up, press Setup. Then, because there are more tabs than will fit in the bottom of the screen, press Shift and F1 to change the tabs. Then press F3 to select Solo Setup. You could also just keep hitting Setup to cycle through the tabs. Now move the cursor to Mix Down Solo and press Enter. For a more complete description, refer to the operation guide under Using the Solo function. Meanwhile, play the recorder and press Solo. Press Mixing Layer Monitor, then On for any channel or channels you wish to monitor. To turn the Master Solo function off, press Solo again. To monitor specific tracks before any EQ or effects, use Q. This function allows you to hear what's actually been recorded to disk. Again, for more information on Solo or Q, refer to the reference guide and the operation guide. The AW4416 provides two internal effects processors with a wide variety of effects types, all with factory preset programs. Use these programs as a starting point, then customize them to suit your needs. There's a complete list of the effects programs and their parameters in the reference guide. You'll also find more detailed information on using the effects in both the reference and operation guides. For now, let's explore how to use the aux bus to apply a reverb effect to your recorded tracks. Start by pressing aux 7, then F2 to see the library of effects programs. Move the cursor to the list and rotate the data dial to see the available programs. To load your selection, move the cursor to Recall and press Enter. Move the cursor to OK and press Enter again. Now press Pan, then F2 to see the pan route screen for channels 17 through 24. Here, we'll make the pan settings and bus assignments for the input and return channels. Make sure the Return 1 stereo button is on, and the two pan knobs are hard left and hard right. These settings mean the Effects 1 return will be sent to the stereo bus. Now press aux 7, then Monitor, and when you play back the song, use the faders to adjust the Effect 1 send level for the recorded tracks. It may also be necessary to adjust the return level of the effects. To do this, press Home, the 17 through 24 return, then use fader 15 for effect 1 and fader 16 for effect 2. By the way, use aux 8 to access the send levels for effect 2. Keep in mind that this is the same process you'll use to affect input channels as well. Just press Home, then choose inputs 1 through 16 here or 17 through 24 here. As you start to get your levels, effects, EQ, and dynamics where you want them, it's a good idea to save them in a scene memory. This allows you to instantly recall the status of all mixing parameters. You'll find this snapshot of your mixes will give you the peace of mind to experiment, because you'll know you can always come back to this setup anytime you want. You may even find that scenes are a quick way to automate mixing, as they also offer a way to fade smoothly from scene to scene. But for more precise control, you'll want to use the Automix function, which we'll review in the next section of this video. For now, here's how to store and recall a scene. To store a scene, first use these plus or minus keys to select a destination scene number, displayed here. Then press Store. Use the keypad in the display to enter up to 16 characters for a name. Move the cursor to the letter you want, then press Enter. Use these arrows to move the cursor left or right, and press here to add a space. By the way, turning Shift Lock off makes other characters available. When you are finished, Move the cursor to OK and press Enter. You can also see, save, and recall scenes by pressing Scene. A quick tip: it's much easier to input a name using an optional serial mouse. They're inexpensive, readily available, and really do make getting around the AW4416's function screens easier. The AW4416 Automix function is an awesome way to precisely craft your mix until it's just the way you want it. It lets you build up your changes to panning, EQ, effects, fader moves, and much more, all in real time, layer by layer. You can even punch in and replace a single element of a complex mix with complete ease. The real benefit is that this function allows you to concentrate on wearing only one hat at a time. As engineer, you make the changes you want, then go back as producer and listen to the final mix, making sure it's perfect. You'll hear all of the layers of changes exactly the way you want them, time after time. Just imagine the creative options. Well, let's experiment a bit on our own with the Automix for the demo song So Fine to get an idea of how it works. Press RTZ to go to the top, and since we're going to be working with recorded tracks, press Home and Monitor. Normally, you would save the current settings as a scene, or recall an existing scene as the starting point for a new Automix. In this case, we'll just make some changes to the existing mix. Press Automix, F1, then move the cursor to Automix Disable and press Enter. This activates the current Automix, which we turned off earlier in the video. Next, choose the type of events you want to overwrite or record, such as fader moves and channel on. To do this, move the cursor to the on-screen button for each function and press Enter. Move the cursor here and press Enter to put Automix in Record Ready mode. Now, when you put the recorder in play, Automix will engage its record mode. To select the channel to record, press Select and begin your moves. In this case, let's do something obvious that will give us some visual feedback. When finished, press Stop to stop playback and end Automix recording. Had we pressed Auto Record, playback would stop, but Automix would stay in Record Ready. Since we're editing an existing Automix, the AW4416 asks if we want to update the Automix. Move the cursor to OK and press Enter to keep the changes in memory, but note that we haven't saved to disk, so it's not permanent yet. To check out our changes, press RTZ, then play. And here are the moves we made. Remember, if you've been following along on your AW4416, don't save these changes. Well, this just barely scratches the surface of this very powerful and very useful function. Read the tutorial for a behind-the-scenes tour of the So Fine mix. You'll also find a comprehensive description of Automix in the reference guide and operation guide. The recorder section of the AW4416 provides an additional stereo track beyond the 16 audio tracks. Think of this as a master 2-track mix, either a snapshot of your work in progress or the final mix for mastering. To record the stereo track, press Record Track Select Stereo. Play back the song, then press Home, F4, and watch the left-right level meter. Adjust either the individual faders or the stereo fader to keep the mix from clipping. When you are satisfied, press Stop, RTZ, then press and hold Record and press Play. When you are finished recording, press Stop. To listen to the newly recorded stereo track, rather than the current real-time mix, press Track, then F3. This screen allows you to play back or erase the stereo track. In its default state, the AW4416 has the stereo track muted. To unmute it, automatically assign it to monitor channels 1 and 2, and mute the remaining monitor channels, move the cursor to below the M and press Enter. When this is unlit, you're listening to the recorded stereo track. When it's lit, you're listening to the live stereo mix. You'll find more detail on the stereo track and all of the functions in this section of the video in both the reference guide and the operation guide. Well, now it's time to burn the stereo track to CD. First, make sure you install an optional internal CDRW, as we did at the beginning of this video, or connect an external CDRW drive to the SCSI port. Remember that only the stereo track from songs recorded as 16-bit or 24-bit 44.1 kHz sampling rate can be mastered to a CD. If your song is at 48 kHz, you must first sample rate convert it to 44.1 on an external computer or recorder. Your music can be written to CD in one of two ways: track at once or disk at once. Track at once writes individual tracks, allowing you to burn them to CD whenever they are ready without waiting until an entire project is completed before pressing a disc. You can only listen to the disc in the AW4416 until it has been finalized. Finalizing a disc makes it playable in any audio CD player. Disk at once writes all tracks to a CD in one operation. This option automatically finalizes the CD as the last step, so when the disc is finished, it is ready to play in any audio CD player. One other consideration: the AW4416 allows you the option of a writing test that will check for any errors before actually writing the CD. This doubles the time it takes to burn the disc, but alerts you to any problems before the burn. Now press Mastering. Then hold down Shift and F2 to open or unload the CD tray. Place a blank CDR disc in the tray and press F1 to close it. Use the data dial to select the SCSI ID number 3 for the internal CD burner and press Enter. Move the cursor to Track at Once or Disk at Once, then press Enter. Now move the cursor to New and press Enter to add the first song that we will burn to disk. Move the cursor to the song name and select the stereo track you want to write to number 1 on the audio CD. You may choose to allow digital copying or not by moving the cursor to Copyright and pressing Enter to select Prohibit or Permit. An X here means that digital copying will be prohibited for this CD. Repeat these steps to build your list of songs. Use the Insert and Delete buttons as necessary to get the order you want. Keep in mind that you move the cursor to the track number here to make these changes, and here to change the song in the currently selected track. When you have the list the way you want it, move the cursor to Execute and press Enter. Confirm by selecting OK, then press Enter. After all data has been written, the media will eject automatically. If you selected Disk at Once, it's ready to play. If you selected Track at Once, you'll need to finalize the disc before playing it back in an audio CD player. You can finalize a disc at any time. Refer to the operation guide under Mastering for more information about writing and finalizing CDR and CDRW discs. After working with the AW4416, you'll begin to collect a number of song files. These can be backed up to an internal CDRW or an external SCSI device such as a fixed or removable hard drive. First, you'll need to decide which of two file formats to use. Type 1 will automatically format and erase your media before the backup is performed. The advantage of Type 1 is that even if your files exceed the capacity of a CDR disk, they will be divided up automatically by the AW4416. Type 2 stores songs as individual files and is most suited for use with an external drive. For more complete information on backing up and restoring songs, read about these topics in the operation guide. These 8 sample trigger pads in 2 banks offer access to 16 sounds, music phrases, or sound effects. This opens up some interesting creative options. Imagine sampling a vocal phrase from disk, a rhythm phrase from an external SCSI drive, or maybe a sound effect from a CD. and flying it into your live or recorded performance in real time. The sounds can be mono, or you can link two pads together for stereo. The outputs are then routed either directly to the stereo bus or to a mixer channel where you can EQ and affect them as you wish. You can even record the performance of the pads as part of your song. We'll cover the basics, but for more in-depth information, refer to the operation guide under Sampling Pads. Here are a couple of things to keep in mind while using the sampling pads. First, you've got about 90 seconds of sampling time with 16-bit 44.1 kHz mono audio. The higher the resolution, the lower the amount of time available. Second, the sound you assign to the pads must be in the same sample rate as the song. Also, you can assign a desired region from tracks 1 through 16 of the recorder, import an audio CD track, or import a WAV file from a SCSI device. To get some ideas for using this cool function, experiment with the sounds in Bank A. Again, check out the operation guide for more details on the sampling pads function. There is a wide range of optional plug-in cards for the AW4416 that will allow you to configure your unit to match your needs. Current cards include the MY8AT ADAT interface, MY8TD Tascam interface, MY8AE AES EBU interface, MY8AD an 8-channel AD interface with 8 1/4-inch phone jacks, MY4AD 4-channel AD interface with XLR connectors, and MY4DA 4-channel DA interface with XLR connectors. Check with your local Yamaha retailer for more information on pricing and availability. You'll find that libraries are a great way to personalize your AW4416. They allow you to store and recall your favorite or often used settings for patching, including all input and output settings, channel parameters, EQ, dynamics processors, and effect programs. Many of these libraries provide a wide range of preset programs to get you started and save you time. Look in the reference guide for a detailed description of these presets. Our last stop in this whirlwind tour of the AW4416 is a quick look at its MIDI capabilities. Again, we'll give you a taste for what you can do, then encourage you to experiment on your own, and read more in the reference guide and operation guide. So, what can you do with MIDI and the AW4416? Well, if you're into MIDI sequencing, try slaving your sequencer to the AW4416 using MIDI clock or MTC. Then set the AW4416 to display time in measures and beats. The AW4416 will even output a metronome for you while recording. For video applications, it's easy to convert MTC to SMPTE. And by sending song position pointer, your MIDI sequences and digital audio tracks will stay perfectly lined up, regardless of where you start playback. It also receives MIDI machine control, so when you start, stop, rewind your sequences, everything stays in sync. You can even recall scenes in the AW4416 via MIDI program change messages as part of your sequences. One way to set things up is to connect your AW4416 MIDI out to MIDI in on your sequencer, and set your sequencer to slave to MIDI clock. Then set up the AW4416 by pressing MIDI, F1, then move the cursor to MIDI out, select Out, and press Enter. Now press F2 and move the cursor to MIDI clock and press Enter. Press Song, F2, then move the cursor to Measure and press Enter. If you need to, you can also set meter changes and tempo maps to match your sequence under the Tempo Map tab here. As you can see in these screens, there are many more options, but this will at least get you started. Other possibilities are to think of your MIDI rig as even more virtual tracks with real-time mixing and processing on the AW4416. Then add vocals, acoustic instruments, or other digital audio on the AW4416 recorder, all in perfect sync with your MIDI tracks. Or record your MIDI tracks into the AW4416 and free up your tone generators for more passes and even more music making power. Thank you for watching this video. We've covered only the basics of this powerful music making tool and have tried to spark some ideas for you along the way. We encourage you to experiment on your own. Remember, the manuals are pretty painless and they provide a wealth of detailed information about every function. So don't be afraid to take a look through them once in a while. Also, be sure to check out the AW4416 website at www.aw4416.com. Good luck and have fun with your new Yamaha AW4416 professional audio workstation.